If you've seen any of my recent videos, you'll know I think Dandy's World has a lot of problems. Fortunately, I'm a game developer, so I've taken it upon myself to take these complaints and channel them into something productive, namely DW64, which is the codename for the Delver-like I'm currently working on in Godot, as Roblox just isn't worth developing for in my opinion. In this video, I'd like to introduce the concept of the game and how I'll handle the many complex systems. As with any early devlog, most of this is subject to change. And the primary reason I'm even making this video is so you guys can, first of all, know this game exists, and second of all, critique my concepts before they become mechanics, allowing for a general smoother development cycle. The game is currently in very early development, and so I will still be showing off the work I've done later on in the video, as I really just need to introduce the entire game first. Before we begin though, please subscribe, as my goal is to hit 10k subs before my second channel anniversary on September 30th. Along with this, I'd recommend joining my Discord link below if you end up interested in this game, as I am very open to discussion over there and would love to talk to you guys about this. To begin, I should probably explain the premise in full. In this game, you play as fictional Nintendo 64 era mascots who gain sentience and are now living in the remnants of a long-lost multiplayer crossover game. Unfortunately, they're not alone. An unidentified virus has spread through the game and the mascots are now living in the final bastion that's still protected by the firewall, which is just an actual wall of fire. To make sure the home base doesn't fall, you and up to 8 other players will ascend through the servers, fixing anomalies across different levels, all the while you're dodging corrupted forms of the mascots. From the premise alone, it obviously sounds very similar to Dandy's World, but in terms of sheer gameplay it will be quite different, namely the pacing. The game itself is planned to have pretty short floors, as I find fast-paced gameplay to be far more enjoyable than the slog that is most Delver-likes. One of the biggest contributors to this change is how anomalies, the machine system in this game, are designed. As of yet, I have 2 primary anomaly categories. These are rifts and repairables. Rifts function like a traditional machine in a Delver-like, using skill checks to progress, though I'm not yet sure if these will be on a timer or just based on how fast you can do the minigame. And by timer I mean like a bar that goes up. Repairables on the other hand are completely unique, at least to my knowledge. The game is heavily inspired by the platformer collectathons of the N64 era, and as such, I thought it appropriate to add objectives based around that. So repairables are anomalies where you must find an object, in the case of playtesting, a puzzle piece inspired by Banjo-Kazooie, and return it to the original position, which is usually like a wall or something. To actually return it, you must do some sort of skill check once you get there, likely mashing a button or something of the like that isn't based on any timer. Similar to something like Toon's Universe, these 2 categories will have different stats, but unlike that game, there are more differences than just machine speed, especially since repairables literally aren't based on speed. The 2 stats are strength and proficiency. Strength is a repairable stat and proficiency is for rifts. I should probably elaborate on stats a bit more. The current idea is going to be pretty similar to Dandy's World. The difference here is that there's 10 stars in each stat instead, allowing for more precise allocation and understanding of how each character works. There's no standardized amount of stars per character, but that may exist in the future, though I'm not fully sure. There won't be anything like mains though. I hate mains, like having something that is objectively better than the last thing just makes no sense. The current stats are strength, proficiency, health, stamina, speed, and stealth. I know stamina and stealth being stats is a bit worrisome coming from Dandy's World, but this should actually be pretty well balanced. Despite what I said before, not every stat is actually dictated by a 10-star system, as stamina is just the amount you start out with, and your health is just, well, your health. It's not based on any specific star. Since, like I previously said, there's no mains, health can vary immensely. One thing of note though when you're talking about stamina is how speed functions. Like I said previously, there's no stamina stat that affects the regen or drain time, but speed actually does scale your drain time, so the faster the character, the faster your stamina drains. I believe strength will also likely affect this, but only when you're specifically carrying repairable fragments. I'm sure the stat setup sounds a bit strange, if this were a traditional Delver-like. Fortunately, I play a plethora of
roguelikes,
which means the game takes a lot more from those than most other Delver-likes do. So, in-run character progression will be very important to the core loop, instead of just having meta progression being a focus, like how trinkets are pretty much the only progression aside from cards, which cards are very eh. One of my biggest gripes with all the most popular Delver-likes is just how they handle being a roguelike subgenre, so I'd like to remedy that in my game, primarily with how this progression works. As of yet, there is no hard and fast rule as to how this game will progress, but my current idea is this. Every few floors you'll encounter one of 3 shops. A shop for temporary goods, a shop for upgrades, and a far rarer one heavily focused on risk and reward that will probably carry both. There will probably also be other avenues for in-run progression. Well, no, there will definitely be them, but as of yet these shops are the only solidified ideas. Now I should probably get a bit into meta progression, though I will come back to the base progression a little bit later. First thing, full stop, there will not be any RNG based quests nor limited time content that has any bearings on gameplay. Under the impression there's ever seasonal events, the most that would happen is skins. Nothing actually important for gameplay. I genuinely hate time gating content. But I doubt events will even happen in this game until it's in a near finished state, and even then it's still iffy. Progression as a whole should hopefully be pretty fair. It won't be super fast, but I also don't want it to be freakishly slow either, so getting characters should be in a mid-range speed. Though honestly the different characters should all be enjoyable enough in their own right to make it so the grind doesn't really feel like one. This game also has classes for each of these characters: supporters, stunners, and debuggers. Supporters are pretty self-explanatory, stunners are the offensive role, and debuggers are the extractor equivalent. There won't be super strict adherence to these roles, and there will be some overlap, like stunner debuggers or support stunners, that kind of thing, but I think having this just makes it easier to generally design characters. The only currently designed character is a debugger named Atmos, who is conceptually based around cloud motifs and strength, and as such his name is derived from the word atmosphere and the Greek myth figure known as Atlas. He will be mid-level in terms of speed, and is built around repairable machines and carrying things. He'll also likely be of low stealth and have a stunner subclass in terms of his abilities, though those are unfinished. The cloud motifs mostly come from the fact that in his fictional N64 game, he's the main delivery man for the mystical cloud train, which is literally a flying train. The quote-unquote elevator is actually that exact train canonically in the current state of the game, though that could totally change. I won't really be going into any other character kits in this video as of yet, since I'm not really confident about any of them being in a presentable state. I mean, I literally wrote the Atmos section while recording the video, so very much new. Now on to a bit of character progression. Each character, similar to Toon's universe, will have a leveling system, though the requirements are going to be far less than that game to get any of the actual content, having higher levels be mostly focused on cosmetics. Along with this, a trinket style system is going to exist, but is being heavily revised. In the current state of the game, the quote-unquote trinkets are going to be items you can buy from the aforementioned shop for in-run progression, and more trinkets are added to the item pool as you go along in the meta progression of the game, so leveling up characters or buying them from the shop, similar to how Dead Cells does it kinda. The current idea is to have 3 max slots and make each trinket upgradable, but I'm sure that'll probably change, and you'll likely progress in the meta progression to have more slots later on. Now that you understand how the meta progression functions, I should probably tell you how obtaining currency, well, actually works. First of all, the main currency, coins. This currency is basically the equivalent to Ichor and will be given out accordingly. One of the biggest issues I tend to find with Delver-likes is just the sheer inconsequentiality of the amount you get per run. So I've decided to fix that with just a few things. First of all, like I said previously, the floors are already far faster paced than any other Delver-likes, meaning you'll inherently be more rewarded. Along with that, the amounts you get will just be a lot fairer. Since the game isn't Roblox, I don't actually need to farm engagement. Aside from that, co-op progression will also be improved, namely by rewarding all of the player when one person repairs an anomaly. You'll still get less coins when another player does so, but I think it's still important to reward everyone, inherently just improving the progression in multiplayer. Pretty much every opportunity to get coins, you will also level up, by the way. It's just something you slowly do over time. There may be mastery quests, but they will be wildly different from Dandy's World and will not be required to get other characters. Now, the final thing I want to get into before showcasing what I've actually developed is how the Corrupted will function. I really dislike distracting as a mechanic, so it's for sure just going to be directly discouraged and outright will be nerfed into oblivion if it somehow gets made viable by the community. I will be completely clear on that. Distracting won't exist in my game, at least nowhere near similar to Dandy's World. This doesn't mean no offensive capabilities though, as if you remember earlier, there's a whole class called Stunners. These are specifically made for fighting off the more traditional enemy designs similar to most Twisteds, though this game itself will likely have a plethora of Corrupted with vastly different movesets. For example, most maps are planned to have barrels in them that you can hide in, and one of the Corrupted, specifically Corrupted Atmos, is going to be able to topple these barrels, but to make it fair, he's pretty slow, and you can pick him up after. Along with this, another Corrupted character named Jebel, not based on Deltarune, it's my friend's OC actually, places balloons around the map that you have to dodge, but as a trade-off, he's considerably worse at detecting players visually. These are just a few examples of Corrupted, but many more will show up across the development cycle, and this video is by no means the end-all be-all of my ideas. I'd now like to showcase what I've actually developed for this game. Currently, after about a week and a half of real development time, in the second revision, because I started working on this a few months back, but it got completely scrapped because I couldn't figure out how to make it because I didn't know what I was doing, but I now know what I'm doing, so I'm fine. Anyway, the game has quite a few basic features together. One of the most major implementations is the fact that you can actually progress through floors that are randomly chosen from a list. To do this, I had to spend quite a while creating a modular rift anomaly system to be able to, well, actually progress through the floors. Currently, the only anomaly is literally just a bar that fills up when you interact with the anomaly, but this is only temporary and an actual skill check system is in the works. Along with this, both an item and an inventory system are fully implemented and incredibly modular, allowing me to add pretty much any item that affects any stat incredibly easily, though in the current state the only existing item just gives you stamina. A couple of stats are also somewhat implemented, primarily speed in the stamina system, though aside from stealth, none of the other stats will be too much of a hassle. The current goal is to get skill checks and Corrupted done, then move on to in-run progression, as you still can't get more machines as floor progress or anything of the like, so that'll have to be fixed before I can get a super early testing build out. Like I said before, you should join my Discord if you have any interest in the game, want more context on things I likely forgot to explain, and/or you should comment below any criticisms you have with it conceptually. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and remember to like, subscribe, and do all the other YouTuber things.